for the state. Please introduce yourself to the court.
My name is Haley Floyd. I am the accountant at Rockford.
Now, before we get into your duties at Rocket World, what educational background do you have?
I received my bachelor's in accounting from Wagner College back in 2007. But that wasn't enough of an education for me. So I went on to the rigorous Midland State University in 2009 to get a master's in accounting. After graduation, I took and passed the CPA exam, which certified me to be an accountant.
Well, let me draw your attention back to Rocket World Amusement Park. What exactly did you do there?
I was in charge of keeping track of all the park's finances and records. This includes the admissions, concessions, payroll, anything that relates to big numbers.
Now, when you first got to Rocket World Amusement Park, how was their financial system going?
It was a complete disaster. The admission system there was just absolutely stupid.
What were you able to correct this?
Yes. At first, when I arrived there, the owner, Mr. Longstreet, just simply guessed everything. Guessed how many people came to the park, guessed how much money the park made. So I suggested we use wristbands to correct this.
Wristbands. How exactly did you all use wristbands at Rocket World Amusement Park?
When customers would come to the park, they would be given a wristband. Now, these wristbands had numbers on them, which would tell us how many people actually came to the park. There was also two separate kinds. There was the regular wristband for general admission, and then there was the World Tour wristband, more premium, allow you to get on the better rides.
Now, Mr. Floyd, was this an effective system to use at Rocket World Amusement Park?
Yes, it did exactly what it was supposed to. It increased profits, allowed me to do things with inside Rocket World to increase profits. I was also able to notice a discrepancy that started in May of 2012.
Now, Mr. Floyd, you mentioned a discrepancy. What exactly was going on?
Although the number of people in Rocket World was going up that year, the World Tour wristbands weren't selling as fast as they had in previous years. Now, this means the lines should have been getting normal, but the lines inside Rocket World for the World Tour rides were actually getting longer.
They were getting longer. Why was this?
I wasn't sure at the time. I did several things to figure out what was going on with the World Tour lines.
What was going on?
In August of 2012, I had several ride operators count the number of people that were going on the World Tour rides as well as the regular rides. We then cross-referenced these numbers with numbers inside the ticket booth to figure out if there actually was a discrepancy.
Was there?
Yes, there was.
What was it?
If we figured out that someone inside the ticket booth had to be switching out World Tour wristbands with regular wristbands. This explained why the lines were getting longer, but the attendance had been going down.
And you say someone was switching out World Tour regular wristbands. Would you be able to identify these wristbands?
Yes, I will.
Let the record reflect on reports from the opposing counsel which states Exhibit 1. Let the record reflect on reports from the witness with the same document. Now, Mr. Floyd, what have I just handed you?
These are all the wristbands I was just talking about. The top two are wristbands used at Rocket World. I know this because there's numbers on the side. However, on the bottom, there is a different wristband that appeared in Rocket World that doesn't have the numbers on it.
Well, just before we go into that, is it standard practice for Rocket World to have such wristbands?
Yes, we hand them out every time a customer comes to the park.
And is it standard practice for you to keep record of which wristbands you use?
Yes, this is how we keep track of profits and sales and things of that nature.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to enter State's Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
Will be received.
Now, for the...
I'd like to take a look at it. Let's do it.
Never mind.
Thank you.
Now, for the court today, can you describe the difference between the regular wristband and the wristband that there was a discrepancy with?
Yes, these top two wristbands, the ones used in Rockdale, they were a sturdy plastic kind of wristband, like the ones you get at the hospital. The bottom one, which doesn't have the numbers on, it was also like a cheap paper. It was very flimsy and broke quite easily.
Well, just to be clear, was that a wristband that was purchased by Rock the World?
No, I am not involved in this with this wristband at all. I'm in charge of ordering and distributing the top two wristbands.
You have your permission to tender the document to the bench?
Granted. You want your copy back?
Now, this discrepancy, were you able to find out just how much it was affecting Rock the World Amusement Park?
Yes, with the numbers I used to discover there actually was a discrepancy, I was able to figure out how much money actually went missing.
Now, when you first discovered this discrepancy, you discovered it in the amount of the line numbers for the racks themselves, right?
Yes, I did.
Now, would you be familiar with these actual numbers?
Yes, I would be familiar with the numbers I used to discover the discrepancy.
Let the record reflect I'm proposing counsel with State Exhibit 2. Let the record reflect I'm approaching the witness with the same document. What have I just handed you, Mr. Floyd?
This is a spreadsheet totaling the number of people the ride operators and I had counted in 2 random weekends in August.
Now, is it standard practice for someone in your employment to keep such documents?
It's standard practice at Rockerville. Whenever a discrepancy appears and money goes missing, we go looking for that missing money.
And was this document created in the course of regularly conducted business?
Yes, it's created in the course of discovering such discrepancies.
Your Honor, at this time, I move to enter State Exhibit 2 into evidence.
Any objection?
Objection at this time, Your Honor, to hearsay.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Well, first of all, it would help me a lot if I could have a copy of the document as you're examining the witness, because otherwise I don't know what the witness is referring to. Okay, and what's your objection?
Hearsay.
May I respond to that, Your Honor?
Why is it hearsay?
I believe that opposing counsel will try to admit this under the hearsay exception of regularly conducted business activity. At this time, this is an out-of-court statement being used to prove the truth of the matter asserted in this document. And the foundation has not been made to fulfill fulfill the needs for it to be met under 8036, the
All right.
regularly conducted business activity.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
The foundation for that exception has in fact been laid, for this is a document created in the regular course of business for Rock World Amusement Park. Therefore, it is in fact an exception under 8036. We just heard the foundation that this document was created by Rock the World for the purposes of discovering this loss. It's standard practice to create such document, therefore it does in fact fall under that exception, under 8036.
May I respond to that, Your Honor?
Yes.
If you refer to page 10 of the Midlands Rules of Evidence, under that it lays 5 prongs that must be met in order for this to come in as a regularly conducted business activity. While I agree that opposing counsel has laid 4 of the 5 prongs already, he is missing the first prong as to specifically when this document was made, and until that foundation has been laid, this would still be inadmissible. Once that foundation is laid, however, it would be admissible.
Your Honor, may I address that?
Certainly.
We just heard from this witness that this document was made right after they noticed the discrepancy in the park in spring of 2012. We have a timeline for when this document was made. Therefore, all 5 prongs have in fact been met. Therefore, there's still an exception to hearsay under 8036.
The objection is overruled. Thank you. It will be admitted.
Now, how did this document further your investigation into this discrepancy, Mr. Floyd?
With these numbers, I was able to figure out how many people were actually along with the numbers in the ticket booth. I was able to figure out about how many people got the wrong wristband. With that, I was able to then figure out the total loss from this scheme.
Well, did she use any other documents to determine the total loss for Rock World Amusement Park?
Yes, I used the attendance numbers right out of the ticket booth.
Your Honor, let the record reflect I'm approaching proposing Constable State's Exhibit 3. Let the record reflect I'm approaching witness with the same document. Commissioner, this is a tender copy for your reference.
Granted. Thank you.
What have I just handed you, Mr. Floyd?
This is the profit loss sheet of used by Rock World for the years 2010 through 2012. It includes the attendance numbers right out of the ticket booth.
And is it standard practice at Rocket World to create such documents?
It obviously is. If we didn't know how much money Rock World was making, we would be in trouble with the government.
And was this created in the course of regularly conducted business?
It has to be, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I move to enter State's Exhibit 3 into evidence.
No objections.
Will be received.
Now, with the accumulation of those two documents, what were you able to determine, Mr. Floyd?
Well, in the month of August of 2012, about 6,000 people had gotten the wrong wristband. Now, the difference in price between the regular and the World Tour is $15. This means that in August, Rock World lost $90,000.
Your Honor, permission to tender these documents to the bench.
Granted. I mean, we've got it right here, so I think.
Now, let me draw your attention to August 30th, 2012. Did anything happen on that date?
Yes. Well, that day was pretty uneventful and boring for the most part. I prefer it that way. I like the drama-free life. But it was around closing time at 9 when Cameron Poole, who wasn't supposed to be there that day, showed up.
And what did Mr. Poole do?
Well, since he wasn't supposed to be there, I reached for the phone to call for security. He then told me to put that away, or you will regret it. I told him to go away because you're not supposed to be here.
What happened next?
That was when Cameron, he whipped out a knife, he put it to my face, and then he said, "Give me all the money, or I'll carve up your face."
And just to be clear, have you ever seen that knife before?
The knife? Yeah, Cameron had used a blue-handled knife. It looked a lot like the one that Whit Bowman had brought to work a few days before.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
Ross?